Another look at Skitterstrand Arachnarok. In 3rd edition, this was the only spider that I even considered playing. I considered playing it as an ally in orcs of various kinds. I considered it in Gloomspite Gits. This was, realistically, the only spider worth considering, and I'm considering it again. But first, thanks to all my patrons, in particular, Philip, who is my only and first boss tier patron. So, lots of thanks. I'm trying to get more patrons, so let's make it work. I don't know. It's such an awkward thing to say. This is nothing. Let's get out of there. Okay, what do we got up first? Skitterstrand Arachnarok. Okay, so we're gonna look at this guy in a little bit more depth. I sort of did a video on this yesterday with my friend, and now let's have another look. Okay, so first of all, let's check out his damage. I think this is the right profile. Let's just slide this bad boy right over like this. So I think this is the same profile. I did this one already. And so the damage output that we're expecting from the Skitterstrand is not fantastic. Again, like against a 4-up save, we're dealing, 8 damage-ish. And this weapon profile is insanely swingy, right? The monstrous spider fangs is insanely swingy. And this damage, by the way, is in fact with the Light of the Bad Moon, right? Where we're on 5s. If we're not under the Light of the Bad Moon, the damage is going to go down by like a fair bit. So it's not really a super high damage dealer. We're looking at like 8 damage-ish, plus or minus. And because it is incredibly swingy with 4 dice. Sorry, I just realized my fan was on. Because it only has 4 dice, the probability that we actually get a mortal when we're not in the Light of the Bad Moon is quite low. Because it's 1 in 6, and we're only rolling 4 dice. So, if it's on a 5, the probability that we proc a mortal is like about 1 in 3. But it's only 1. But 3 mortal damage is nothing to sneer at. And then the chitinous legs or whatever, its companion, at least it's 4s and 2s, but we're not changing this profile. Like, this damage is going to be what it is. Even if we, like, another way to think about it too is that if we just turn off the mortal wounds, right, as if we get none, 6 damage, 7 damage against a 4-up save. So it's not here to be like a rampaging monster all by itself. It's going to be a support piece. 4-up save is okay, 14 health is quite a bit, 10-inch move is, like, on the slow end of the fast things, if that makes sense. If a foot infantry unit is 10-inch move, it's phenomenal, but if a monster is 10-inch move, it's kind of whatever. These things are also on huge bases. I think that they're on the largest bases. They're on the same base as the Maw Crusher, I'm pretty sure. So, a gigantic base. It has Wall Crawler, which helps in its movement, but it's quite big. Oh, thanks for the sub. Wow, what a guy. Sourdough. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I don't even know what that means, but I have a sub, so thanks. Battle damaged, it loses a little bit of its chitinous legs. Chitinous legs is a little bit more of a reliable profile because it has so many attacks, right? But that's not why I'm interested in it at all, but I'll save why I'm interested in it here until the end. So, okay, so it has a monstrous rampage once per turn, army-wide in any combat phase. If this unit charged this turn, so I already don't like it, roll a die on a 3-up, so you have to charge, and then you have to get a 3-up, so we're looking at a relatively inconsistent profile here. It can move 2d6, so again, we're back to that inconsistency. If you roll Snake Eyes, you're not even out of combat, right? It can pass through the combat ranges of enemy units and can pass through models in enemy infantry units, so it can crawl over infantry units, but it must end that move in combat. Then pick an enemy infantry unit that this unit passed across during that move, inflict D3 mortal damage on the target. So it's like a 3-up D3 with a 2d6 inch move. So it's like, it's it's nice because it's a movement. It's nice because it's a little bit of damage, but it's super kind of inconsistent. Even if you get the 3-up, if you roll a bad move, it's like you can't plan around this, you know? As opposed to, let's say, the Dankhold's Wade and Smash, where it's just 6 inches. It just gets to move 6 inches. You can plan around that. You can scare your opponent with that. So this Rampage is pretty mid. Pretty mid. So far, everything about this is pretty mid. It's got a mid attack profile, mid move, right? And there's nothing about it that's really like standing out until during the deployment phase, you can set it up in reserve. Cool. Any movement phase. So this happens, you can do this on your opponent's turn. Your opponent moves all of their things on the board. And then you drop this thing anywhere on the battlefield outside of 9 of enemy units. To me, I missed yesterday that it said any movement phase. You can drop this thing in, okay? And I'm still unclear. I don't think that you can drop it in and then redeploy it. I don't think you can. I don't think that you can, like, move a unit that was set up this turn. So that means that you can't set it up and then redeploy it. But you can set it up and then use countercharge. So that's pretty cool. Imagine that you have a block of units somewhere, let's say Stabas, and your opponent is setting up to come in and get them. You have a lot of information now when you're on the table. You have probably taken your first turn, your opponent's taken their first turn, you're in the second battle round, you still have this spider in reserve, and your opponent is setting up to like take an objective from you or take a flank from you or do something, and then you're going to put this spider, you're going to drop the spider into play on your opponent's turn right in a spot that they were hoping it wouldn't be. So this means that if you put it beside a unit that's about to get charged, you know, you're sort of zoning out your opponent. They're like, well, I definitely don't want to be within 3 inches of that spider. You could put it behind a unit that's about to get charged so that when your opponent charges in, they have a high degree of tagging the spider in combat. And then, you know, you get the monstrous rampage and you get to attack. And even though the attack isn't incredible all by itself, you're still adding this damage to the profile. You're still adding the damage to the unit that was also going to fight. And this thing has a lot of health, and it doesn't really degrade. Like, monsters don't really degrade like they used to. So I think that this thing has a chance to actually kind of be interesting. So, like, that's really cool. And it is a monster, so it does interact with Rabble Rouser. So I have a feeling that maybe because this thing comes into during any movement phase, it also doesn't leave again. Like, once it comes in, it's staying on the table. But depending on its points, I think that this spider might actually be worth thinking about and considering. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Come join the Discord. We're talking about it. So like, subscribe. Wow.